Hey guys, what's up? It's Erica. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to do this video, but it also kind of is killing me inside because I just did all the math to figure out how much money I spent last month, and it was a lot. I'm kind of hurting after doing all that math and seeing how much money I spent, but I live in San Francisco and I'm lucky enough to still be employed. I know so many people have lost their jobs because of COVID and everything, but I'm lucky that I am still working and able to pay the crazy prices in San Francisco because it is just absolutely crazy. I signed a lease in March and I still got the crazy SF prices, but not the crazy SF experience because now rent here is dropping because people aren't really moving to bigger cities. It's like there's kind of no point right now because there's nothing to do. But I am locked into this for a year, so. Before I get too far into this video, I did just want to say that I watched another girl who made a video about how much she spends in San Francisco, and she began it with a little bit of a disclaimer, which I think is important because San Francisco is either the most or the second most expensive city to live in the US. All of our prices are inflated. Luckily, most income here is also inflated, so a lot of this probably sounds like so much money if you're living in like the Midwest. Hopefully most jobs here in the Bay Area try to pay their employees enough money to afford living here. I think it's kind of interesting though to see if someone is considering living here. Obviously everyone has different lifestyles, but you can kind of see how much I spend and what I spend it on. This is obviously kind of a very personal video, so I'm sure everyone has their opinions and things to say, but yeah, I'm making this mostly just to educate people on if they want to move here and how much to spend or if you're interested in that. Okay, so I'm going to start off with my fixed expenses, and the first one is rent, which is so much money. I pay $2,150 per month for rent here, which is so crazy. With COVID and everything, I'm so glad that we picked this place because this place was probably the biggest that we saw. I mean, and it's still not really that big, but for the fact that we have to be pretty much indoors a lot of the time, and because we're in a city, it's not like we have a yard or anything. I'm so happy that this is where we ended up, and we have windows, so it's nice and bright here, where a lot of the places are like tiny and dark and you look like directly onto your neighbor's house, and there's a little bit of that here, but for the most part, I'm really glad that this is where we live. Also, in that cost, I also get a parking spot, which is so rare in San Francisco, and I do have to drive to my job in Palo Alto, so I needed my car. For people who are like, oh, why can't you take public transportation? My job needs me to be able to drive once I'm at my job too, so I also really like having my car here, so that rent cost of $2,150 also I pay more than my roommate does because it includes my parking spot. We are lucky though that our building covers water and trash. So the other things we have to pay for are Wi-Fi, which I spend $23 on a month. And then electricity, I was charged $23. Those are the expenses of my place. And then other two fixed expenses that I put in here, which aren't really, I guess, fixed, but I just pay them every month, are my Spotify, which was $10. I just realized that my student discount doesn't work anymore, so I switched to a family plan, and my sister and I are going to split it, so it will be cheaper next month, because $10 is a lot of money, but I also drive a lot, so it's nice to have my music. And then my boyfriend and I split Hulu, so it's $6 a month, but I pay $3 a month. And that's what I included in my fixed expenses, and that comes out to be $2,209, which I feel like the other expenses are very low. It's just rent that is so crazy high. The next thing I wrote down was Venmo. I did get charged because my friend flew out to visit me in San Francisco, and for her birthday earlier in May, I told her I would help pay for a flight to come and visit, so I Venmoed her $100 as like a birthday gift that went to her flight. I hardly get to see her, and she's my best friend from high school, so I would say that's money well spent. The next expense I have written down is for my car, and like I said, I do drive from San Francisco to Palo Alto every day, so it's a long drive. I spend probably an hour and a half to 2 hours every day in the car. Gas is really expensive here. So I spend $258.79 on gas in August, and then I also bought an $8 car wash because my car desperately needed to be cleaned. It hadn't been cleaned in months. So that came out to be $266.79. This next one was probably the most painful for me to look at because I don't know how, but my eating out cost for the month of August was $304.96. The one thing I will say is a lot of times when I go out with my friends or if I order Uber Eats and stuff, a lot of times I will put it on my card and people Venmo me back, and I didn't calculate that into that because it would be kind of difficult to go through and figure out all those charges. But probably including the times that I've Venmoed other people for things, probably honestly not that wrong. I don't know how I could have spent that much money on eating out when I really can't even like dine out. And also $145 of that was spent on Uber Eats. I definitely need to reduce those spending habits. Yeah, that one was definitely the most painful to look at. The next is groceries, which I went to Safeway twice and I went to Trader Joe's once, and then there were a few like little runs to a market that's like right around the corner from my house that is completely overpriced, but it's really nice just to like walk around the corner and be able to get quick groceries. For my bigger grocery runs at Trader Joe's, I spent $46.21, which I feel like is a pretty good price. I shopped at Trader Joe's in college and I feel like I know what I want from Trader Joe's and it always ends up around the same price. One time at Safeway, I spent $60.30, which that seems a little high to me, but I mean, I don't remember exactly what I bought at Safeway that time, but I don't know, it's kind of a lot of money for a grocery run for me. And then the other time I went to Safeway, I spent $11.09, which I must have just like gotten bagels or something because that one's pretty low. In total, I spent $156.62. I think that basically like $160 for the month is pretty good with groceries. I'm still kind of figuring out my adult grocery life with making lunch and bringing it to work and not just buying groceries and them all going bad because I'm tired and I end up just wanting to Uber Eats. So that's a work in progress, but we're getting there. The next category I broke out is health. In total for health, last month I paid $70.43. I went to the doctor one time and I have a copay of $20, and then the other $50 was spent at CVS a few different times for prescriptions and just like over-the-counter medicine and then like shampoo and whatever. Probably snuck some M&Ms in there, but $70 for health. I mean, thankfully I can afford to spend money on going to the doctor and have insurance and can afford to buy my prescription medicine and all of that jazz. For shopping, so I have an Amazon credit card that basically if you spend money on Amazon, you get 5% back. So I hooked it up to my family's Prime account and I told them whenever you want to buy something on Amazon, charge it to my account and then just Venmo me the money. So $91.99 was charged to my Amazon credit card. I'm not sure how much of that I bought off of Amazon, but I don't think I really bought anything off of Amazon. They would have like Venmoed me the money back, but I didn't factor that in. I also spent $83.70 on an online purchase for jewelry, which I never do, but I kept getting these ads for this really pretty jewelry company that was offering 70% off, and I got 6 really nice pieces of jewelry that I'm waiting for to come, but I will share them on here when they do come. But I'm really excited. I've been really wanting nice gold jewelry for a long time, something that I don't have to worry about taking off and like tarnishing. So even though $83 is a lot of money, it seems like that they're good quality pieces and that they were just having a huge sale. So hopefully I will keep a lot of these pieces for a while. And then I also spent $13.57. That was at the Goodwill bins. And actually, if you don't know, I do sell on Poshmark, and I am not like an official reseller, but I do reselling where I go to Goodwill and buy things to resell. So all that $13 that I spent at Goodwill, I've made back and made some more on it. I think that that was a good purchase. It was still $189.26, which I feel like some people's shopping is probably hundreds of dollars a week. One, with COVID, I don't really like need to buy outfits because I'm not going anywhere. But also I love thrifting and pretty much refuse to buy anything unless it's from the Goodwill outlet. I occasionally will splurge on something that I really want and something that I'm like obsessed with, like I did with the jewelry, because I've been wanting stuff like that for a really long time. But for the most part, my shopping is pretty in check. So now for the total amount that I spent in August 2020, it was $3,297, which is a lot of money. A good percentage of that was on rent, on gas, and on food. There was obviously some of the food I did not need to spend as much money. Like, I did not need to be eating out the way I was, and even just like couponing and being better at what I buy at the grocery store, so I'm not buying things that then I eventually don't eat and just have to throw away. That's definitely a way that I can cut my costs down. And really, I am hoping that if I am able to stay in this apartment for another year or whatever happens, either they lower the price of rent here or I move, because the amount that I pay is so insane, especially for the fact that most rent in San Francisco has gone down. Yeah, it's way too much money. It hurts every month to see all that money leave my bank for rent, but I do love my apartment, so I'm happy. But of course, I wish I was spending less on rent. The thing that does scare me a lot about seeing this is during COVID, so really my expenses are probably way less than they would be if I were living like normally, because this was for August of 2020, and normally August has outside lands in San Francisco, and those tickets are like $300, and then think about the outfits, the Ubers, the drinks. Gosh, you probably could have added on another few $100s to that, so that scares me. Probably would have eaten out a lot more because restaurants would really be open a lot more. And travel, I love to travel, but obviously with COVID I'm not traveling, but I feel like I would have maybe gone and visited someone, even if it wasn't like a big trip or anything, but like a weekend trip to LA to visit a friend there, or I don't know, something like that. I am just kind of nervous for COVID to be over, and hopefully I can get my spending a little bit lower before COVID ends, and hopefully YouTube becomes a little bit more lucrative. I am monetized, but I am not making the big bucks on YouTube, so I'm hoping that maybe I will have a little bit more of a side income with that, hopefully one day. We're working towards that. So like I said, San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities to live in the United States. So definitely take that into consideration when you're listening to this video. Everything is just inflated here, but I am really lucky that I have the opportunity to have a job that pays me enough to live in this really cool city. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys want to see from me next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.